Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a chef's journey through the Alexander Valley. I would like to thank the Alexander Valley Wine Growers Association for inviting me to moderate this wonderful series. My name is Courtney Humiston. I am a sommelier and journalist based on the Sonoma Coast. I used to be the wine director for a fine dining restaurant in Healdsburg, which is at the southern end of the Alexander Valley, which is where I got an opportunity to meet a lot of the people that are on this series, fall in love with these wines and this really special place. So thank you for joining us. Please pour, if you haven't already, a glass of the Carpenter Semillon. So that is the white wine that we're going to be tasting tonight. And I would also invite you to open the two other red wines, so the Trione Primitivo and the Cyrus. And I have noticed that the Cyrus, the 2015, definitely benefits from decanting. So if you have the resources, go ahead and get that open and decanted, and it will be showing really lovely by the time we get to it as the third wine. Also, there was a small miscommunication about the pairings initially. So the duck tonight is actually going to be with the Trione Primitivo, and the pork belly is with the Cyrus. So both of these wines are delicious and both of these dishes are delicious. So if you did prepare one of them with one of the wines in mind, do not fret, it will still taste great. I'd like to briefly thank our panelists before we dive into the wines. I have Chef Mateo Granados, who is the chef owner of Mateo's Cocina Latina in Healdsburg. Hi, Chef.
Hi, thank you for having me be part of this journey, which is very interesting. How you were talking about the wines and the aging of the wines, because it's the 2015, and it's just fun to hear people understanding how soft these wines got. You know what I mean? And thank you for giving the opportunity to express what my experience with wine and winemaking and food and my career.
Thank you. And I have Laura Carpenter Hawks here from Carpenter Winery. Hi, Laura.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. It has been probably the most beautiful day in Alexander Valley of the year. Just spectacular. Took a little bike ride, and just the blossoming mustard fields and the chamomile and all the fresh grass is just intoxicating. So come see us.
Yeah, it really is the best time of the year right now. Everything is just blooming and exploding, and there's rain and rain showers and sun showers and rainbows. It's pretty magical. And then I have Katie Murphy here, who is a family partner and winery ambassador for Alexander Valley Vineyards. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you. Thanks very much for having me. Yes, it is beautiful in the Alexander Valley. Had a little weird weather yesterday, snow and hail, but today it's sunny and bright and gorgeous, so Laura's right.
And welcome to Scott Covington, who is the winemaker for Trione Winery.
Cheers, thank you. It's great to be here. Yeah, it's a beautiful day in Alexander Valley, so happy to be here. And happy to have some wine with the Mateo.
Thank you.
So this is the third episode in a 6-part series. So we're here every Thursday at the same time, and we'll be representing 3 different wineries and 1 chef. And today is really special because even though the Alexander Valley is known for Cabernet Sauvignon, that is certainly our calling card here. Today we're going to be tasting 2 kind of less typical varieties for the region, and then 1 very classic, amazing wine that is named for the founder of Alexander Valley, actually, which is a Bordeaux blend, which is the Cyrus. So I'm particularly excited about this episode. And just to give you kind of a sense of place of where we're at. So the Alexander Valley is 15,000 acres of grapevines. It's located in northeastern Sonoma County. So essentially the appellation follows the Russian River Valley from Cloverdale down to Healdsburg. And as I was talking to a friend of mine this week about this series, we both just commented on how magical the drive is as you come from Calistoga over the hill through the Alexander Valley. And you really feel this connection in the Alexander Valley with the farming and the people and the community. And in fact, it really is a region that is run by family farmers, a lot of history, and a really strong sense of community. So it's a very special, captivating place. So with that, I will introduce Laura, who's going to talk to us about her Semillon. So Laura makes wine for her Carpenter brand. She makes Chardonnay, White Zinfandel, a Rosé of Zinfandel, Pinot Noir, and this very special Semillon that comes from her family's vineyard in Alexander Valley. So Semillon, just to get that out of the way, is a Bordeaux variety. So in Bordeaux, it's frequently blended with Sauvignon Blanc, and provides a very kind of textural and backbone to complement the Sauvignon Blanc. So go ahead, Laura. Thank you.
Hi, thanks again. Hello to everybody out there in the virtual world. Yeah, this wine is made from grapes grown on my family's property on Chalk Hill Road. So Courtney was talking about that drive over the hills from Calistoga, and when you drop down, you can take a left onto Chalk Hill Road, the top of Chalk Hill Road, where it meets 128. And about 2 miles after that, you go over a little 1-lane bridge, and then my family's property is just to the right there. And it's about 48 acres planted, mostly to Cabernet Sauvignon, which is what we've been farming for, oh gosh, 48 years now. But we planted a little bit of Semillon along the creek bed, and that's Macama Creek, which is a tributary of Russian River, in 2009. So this is a new variety for us. We only make the Semillon for the Carpenter wines. My family does have Hawk's label as well, which Jake and I started with his parents back in 2002. But this label is more about really small lots, also a lot of Pinot Noir, but we wanted to kind of have the opportunity to experiment with some different varietals, so maybe some we don't grow ourselves, and just to have fun and experiment and maybe make some things that aren't already out there, and also maybe fail, but to keep it really small, and we're having some fun with it. So as I said, the Semillon grows really close to the creek bed. It's gravelly soil. It's a really cool spot in Alexander Valley. It's quite close to where it becomes the Chalk Hill appellation, which is a sub-appellation of the Russian River Valley. So it is socked in with fog a lot in the morning, and it's several degrees cooler than where I'm sitting, which is only about 5 miles north. So we make about 80, I'm looking at the bottle now, 83 cases of this. This is a 2018, so it has a few years on it of bottle age, and I love the way Semillon ages, even a dry Semillon. It just has a lot of interesting characters that come out, not just fruit, but like that honey character, maybe even a little petrol. And it's a really, I have a lot of fun pairing this with food because super food friendly. It's got interesting weight, it's got great acidity, and it's different than your other wine varietals out there. So there's not a lot of Semillon grown around here, and yeah, I think I covered most of it.
Thanks, Laura. Yeah, let's talk about some of those flavor characteristics too, because so I've poured Laura's wine at 3 restaurants that I've managed, and always the Semillon. And what I love about it is that it's a California wine, but it has this like saltiness that just goes so amazing with seafood. And Laura and I have been out to Hog Island Oyster Company, shucking oysters and drinking a Semillon together, and that was an amazing experience. So I'll segue into Chef Mateo's pairing with this, which is seafood. It's the seasonal Dungeness crab and citrus salad, which of course are 2 things that are very much in season right now in Sonoma County. And I also have to mention, I was reminded that Mateo is going to be serving these pairings at his restaurant all weekend. So if you're in the Healdsburg area, be sure to come down to Mateo's and have the wine with these dishes prepared by the chef himself. So Mateo, please.
Cheers. Thank you. Yeah, like Courtney was saying, we were talking about in Laura as well. When people hear Semillon, it's like they think about this big grape and everything. And And me, when I hear the Semillon, I think about old world wine, you know what I mean? What originates French wine. And which just means when I taste the Semillon, I said, I like the acidity, you know what I mean? And you can taste how the citrus, like for example, for me, the combination of the fresh Dungeness crab, you know, this crab is sweet. The combination goes with the citrus, but and then when you cut the conquest transversally, you get some of the rain, which just means with the Semillon, just lingers the middle of your palate and shows you more expressions of the wine. You know what I mean? I said how we can take, I said how we can make this pairing more than a pairing. It's got to be educational. Why the middle part of the skin of the conquest and the middle of the palate with the rest of the juice of the other citrus, embracing the wine and making it so silky. You know what I mean? Like the only problem is you can drink a lot of wine. You can salivate and keeps going with the wine. You know, and that's and now to I was playing around with and I add a shaved wild fennel to it and a citrus. You know, just for me to taste.
Mhm.
It was very incredible. You know what I mean? Like I said, wow, this other face of the wine he shows me when I shape some of the wild fennel. And he has I put the flowers of the mustards and all these things. Really, they in season now and expresses flavors. And with the Semillon Carpentier, I find so much structure to it, to the salad. Like I will definitely eat a salad and have a glass of this wine. You know what I mean? How like the pomegranate seeds, I took it a little bit to the fermentation, which just means when you bite, doesn't allow you to feel the seed at all. You know, and to me, it's a very clean dish, and just like the wine is very clean, very beautiful acidity. You know, shows the area where it's being grown. You know what I mean? That's how when I think about the flavor, you think about all world wines. You know what I mean? What a structure this Semillon has against all world wines. You know what I mean? Like I said, we are more fruit forward. You know, different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was
yeah,
beautiful.
absolutely. Thank you,
Was that
Mateo.
Scott?
Yeah, and sorry, Lori, go ahead, please.
No, Scott was going to say something. I just said, what was that, Scott?
I was going to say it was beautiful when we had it at your restaurant. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. The combination was amazing.
Thanks.
Well, like we talk about it, Katie made a point that day we were tasting. Like I didn't dress the salad. We lay it up. We put layers and layers and layers. How we put the salad first, and then we put the citrus, and then we put the crab, and then we put the slices of the conqua, and then we macroplane a little bit of the Meyer lemon on top. You know how we change all different playgrounds to make it more. How do you say more? You see a lot of different things you will not see in a wine and a food if you don't lay it up in that way. If you dress everything together, it's like you're already just eating it and full of flavor, but you don't know how it's laid up the wine. It's just, oh, it's cutting the acidity. Yeah, it's cutting the acidity, but you don't define the flavors and get each wine, like for the Cyrus or for the Primitivo, that's what I look for. How to define the clear flavors and the layers of each wine and food.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think what's fascinating about tasting wine with chefs is that wineries also try to build, winemakers build those textures in the wine as they're making it. And then the chefs are also building those textures in the dishes. A good pairing is really magical. And I think this certainly hits all the marks. Laura, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yes, sorry, I muted myself. Of course, there's got to be some technical glitch, right? Every time. Oh, I just wanted to say that I thought the texture of the salad was so spot on with this wine, just what he was saying with the layers, but there was the little crunchy bits of correct me if I'm wrong, was it fried shallots, Mateo?
Yeah, they also diced shallots in it.
Yeah,
Which is
and then the like the kumquat and the pomegranate, the pop of that, and then the freshness of the greens. They had a lot of flavor, but it wasn't overpowering any element. And then of course the crab is, you know, the bounty of the Pacific. We just love our crab around here, and it really showed off the sweetness and the just how it could be simple and still so delicious and rich, and all the elements just took it to the next level. So it I think it made my wine look really good.
Made my food look really good too. You know, they all work together. It's like a put in it. Say, I was excited when I got invited because I want to do something out of the normal, you know, out of how we can be using what is now in season, but just getting everything in a different level.
All right, thank you, Mateo. And Laura, real quick, how where can we buy your wine and how can we visit you?
Thank you. Well, the best way is to get it direct from me on the website. You can order, it's pretty user friendly. You can also get in touch with me via email to set up a tasting appointment. We taste in the vineyard. You saw some photos of that, and it's lovely this time of year. So it's all by appointment, and I'm pretty flexible. We just have to set it up ahead of time because I don't live out there. My in-laws still live there, and they let me do tastings in the vineyard. So the wine tastes even better outside where it's grown, right?
The white wine.
Yeah, it's a pretty spectacular property. So I definitely recommend setting something up with Laura, and trying her single vineyard Pinot Noirs as well are really wonderful. So thank you so much. All right, Scott is the winemaker for Trioni Vineyard and Winery. This wine, really fun, Primitivo. It comes from the home ranch in Geyserville, which was established in 1908. This is a family that has been farming in the Alexander Valley for over 40 years. And Scott, I'll go ahead and let you tell us about Primitivo and what this grape variety is. And I'd also like to hear your thoughts on why you're calling it Primitivo instead of Zinfandel.
And I'm on mute. Okay. Well, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, we have both a Zinfandel and Primitivo here on our ranch. And when I started here in 2005, we were making a Zin kind of blend. And then in 2010, we decided we planted some vineyards up above Lake Sonoma with Zinfandel. And so we started doing the Primitivo by itself. So this is our 2015 Primitivo, which is an Italian kind of selection. And we like it because it's individuality, and it is unique. It's not quite Zinfandel, but it is Zin. And I make it in a little bit more unique kind of European style. I use all French oak barrels for this wine, and 18 months in aging, and I want to make it different. So it's right behind the winery here in Geyserville, and so it's Alexander Valley, 100% Primitivo, and yeah, I love it. It's a little bit different than Zin.
So Scott, and I'm being selfish and just educating myself a little bit here too, but hopefully our audience will appreciate it. So Primitivo, when you're planting these vineyards, are they actually genetically different than the Zinfandel vines that you purchase? Is this a heritage block? Tell me a little bit about the story of this particular vineyard.
Well, this Zinfandel is originally from Croatia, and in Croatia it was known as, and I'm going to totally screw this up, but it's I'm gonna look at my my book here from UC Davis, and it's actually gosh, it's known as, and I can't even pronounce it, Cholnak Kastelnecki. So It's actually, it came from Croatia. It came from Croatia across the Adriatic into southern Italy. And the Italians, they call it Primitivo, but they also call Zinfandel the same thing. So for us, I think in UC Davis, Carol Meredith actually realized it's actually the same as Zinfandel, but it is the same, but it's kind of a slightly different, it's a different, it's not even a clonal selection, it's just a different selection. So it's a different selection of Zinfandel. And we have
Dave, one of our audience is asking a really good question to kind of go off of that. What is, from a flavor profile perspective, what is the differences for you between your Zinfandel and your Primitivo?
That's a good question. I think the Primitivo is a little bit, it's the same long cluster, but it tends to ripen a little bit earlier. It's similar to Zen, to different, we have two different selections of Zen here on this ranch. We have one called Dimple and one called Primitivo. And the Dimple ripens a little bit later. So Primitivo just tends to be a little bit smaller, varied, a little bit tighter, but it is Zinfandel. There's no question.
Well, Linda has a great follow-up on that. She says, "Hi, Scott, it's Linda Rossi here. Whatever you call it, the Primitivo is great." Oh. And that's perfect.
I do love it.
It is delicious.
So and
with
I love
this,
it with, Mateo's duck. It's amazing.
Perfect. Yeah. So Mateo, tell us about your pairing for this one. So actually, let's see, we were doing. Tell us about your pairing, Mateo. Thank you.
Well, my experience when we were on a table talking about wine, and first of all, to me, I see Primitivo, like Scotty was saying, and I know originally Zinfandel comes from Croatia and everything. I see Primitivo, it is a Zinfandel, but a different strain. I always take it like a different clone. The clone derivative from Zinfandel, but as I said, they coexist the family, all right? But they have a different structure for me, like to the Zinfandel, tends to be more, a little bit more rough skin. And this one is because it's the more tighter. It has a less rough skin. When it comes from Croatia, I think it's where Primitivo, like me, I see it like a Pomar clone or Dijon clone. I see all the difference between Zinfandel and Primitivo. After I taste the wine and I taste how the French barrel working with the caramelization, I said, well, let's do something different. Let's cure the duck and then roast the duck, which means we go into a process technically in a way thinking how the barrel, French barrel worked with the Primitivo and did it the same thing with the meat. How I cure the meat technically is raw, but it's cured by the soy sauce, the brown sugar, and all the sweet spices in it, which just means softer, all this, it is so nice. Like in your mind is, you go to all world palate. You know what I mean? My palate went more like, to the more Italian side. You know what I mean? How got really soft, how you enjoy the fruit. And like me, I noticed the difference between Zinfandel and Primitivo. You know what I mean? It's slightly different, but I had Italian Primitivos in the past as well. And me, I said, this is a very unique wine. And like you know, Courtney, it's tough to find a really good Primitivo around. You know what I mean? Just like Semillon, people doesn't really plant it. You know what I mean? Because people doesn't know. But when it's being done, execute correctly and pair in a way we pair it, with the duck, it was, to me, I said, well, that cannot be better than this. You know what I mean? It's just we squeeze from the dish and from the wine, and we make something, an experience, and a totally different experience in your palate. How they linger, how in 2015 Primitivo how everything was soft and nice and elegant in your mouth. And I said, if I put the Zinfandel against this one with the same dish, they can go, but you can taste more like the, you know, the how Zinfandel has a little bit more rough skin to me, you know. And I already went with how the wine is being aged in the barrels and what kind of barrels is being used, how long it was being, to see how much palate is going to be lingering with this with the soy sauce, this brown sugar and the sweet spices and the food. How we can know any of them they can dominate. They can both work together.
Cheers, Mateo. Beautiful.
Cheers.
So
Salud.
good.
Cheers. Thank you so much. And I want to pick up on something that's come up a couple times now. We're talking about, Mateo's mentioned it, Laura and Scott both mentioned it, kind of referring to the old world, to, you know, French styles of winemaking or Italian varieties. Mateo's mentioned that as he's tasting these wines, he's thinking more of old world style wines. And I just want to kind of bring that up as a point with Alexander Valley, where that is definitely a thing that sommeliers appreciate about Alexander Valley as well, is that sort of old world style. And I think what we mean by that is more structure, more texture, more backbone, and more sort of savory, herbal, earthy flavors, not just pure like fruit dominance. And so the Alexander Valley just really gives a lot of complexity. And that's kind of, I think, what and tell me if anyone disagrees, but I think that's kind of what we mean when we talk about the old world style, is that acid, tannin, backbone, the age worthiness, and those kind of savory, herbal, earthy elements that just make for really complex and food friendly wines.
No problem. Who do you want to talk? Who do you want to talk?
I just wanted to put it out there. Okay. Let's continue on our
Alexander Valley is so there. I mean, Alexander Valley is so old tradition. You know, there's been so many. There's old families here that have been making grapes and growing wine here for 100 years, and so there's a lot of tradition in this valley, and the property that we sit on right now has been making grapes since 1884. So, you know, there's only been 3 people that have owned this property. And so there's a lot of tradition in Alexander Valley of growing not only grapes, but other things, but grapes for sure. So there's a lot of tradition here in Alexander Valley.
I think also, Courtney, because it's such an agriculturally wonderful area, we have fabulous soils, we have lots of water, we have great weather, and for most of us, and I think especially for us, because the name of our winery is Alexander Valley Vineyards, we're trying to show what the Alexander Valley tastes like. Balance is really key in all of our wines, and I would say that's probably true of the other wineries as well. So we're looking for balance while highlighting the natural varietal character without fooling around with the wine too much.
Yeah.
Yes, great. That is very elegantly put. Thank you. And real quick, Scott, before I move on to Katie to hear more about the Cyrus, tell us how we can buy your wine and how we can visit Trioni.
Oh, Trioni. We're right down 101. We're in Geyserville. So, I mean, I think you can get our wine right now with COVID and everything. It's direct on our website, or, you know, locally, we've had some great local support. So anybody in Sonoma County with, you know, Big John's or Oliver's, you can get our wines for them. And then through our website and just direct, TrioniWinery.com.
Great, thank you so much. And we have to pause for a second to address some very important dog questions. So first up, someone would like to know if Dexter is barking in the background. Katie?
That's Capone.
No?
That's Capone.
Oh, and that was the other question, is if there was a Capone sighting going on. So we've solved the dog mystery.
That's connection, babe.
No,
and then another
I'm at my house and Dexter lives at the winery, and he's not my dog.
And then also quickly, the recipes. So all of these recipes are available on alexandervalley.org, which is where you can also find information about the next 3 weeks coming up, and purchase wine and sign up for the following tastings. But yeah, definitely check out those recipes. Okay, great. So Katie, next up is the family partner and winery ambassador for Alexander Valley Vineyards. Here we have 45 years and 3 generations of winemaking. And this very special Cyrus wine that we're tasting tonight is named after Cyrus Alexander. So he came in 1840, and the Alexander Valley is named after him. And Katie's parents purchased this vineyard from Cyrus's granddaughter in 1962. So amazing, amazing family history. And Katie, thank you for being here to share your story with us.
You bet. Thank you for having me. As you said, and March is actually the month, this March 15th, next week is Cyrus Alexander's birthday. So we talk a lot about Cyrus during March. We do our Cyrus dinner in March. We promote the wine a lot. We chose to start making Cyrus in the 1995 vintage as an homage to the founder of the valley, the man who the valley was named after. And our property has the historic Alexander Valley home, Alexander Valley adobe, their original schoolhouse, and the family cemetery even. So we're steeped in Alexander history. My parents, Harry and Maggie Wetzel, bought a kind of a rundown farm in 1962 and restored it and then planted grapes. And my brother and my parents, my brother and his wife and my parents started the winery in 1975. Let's see, Cyrus, our primary Bordeaux blend, is grown all around us. It's a 5 varietal Bordeaux blend, and the blend is on the back of every vintage. It's a little bit different every vintage, but the blend is shown on the back label, so you can always see what's in the wine. The grapes are picked and fermented in stainless steel and then barrel aged for about a year, and then the winemaker, Kevin Hall, makes the blend for that year, and all those wines are blended together, then puts it back in barrels for about another year, and then it's bottled, and it's bottle aged for at least a year to a year and a half before it's released. Courtney mentioned it's worth decanting this, and I have actually put this in my Cyrus decanter so you can swirl it around, you can get a little aeration. And we don't filter these wines a lot. We don't like to take too much extraction out of the wine. So over the course of time, they will throw a little bit of sediment, and decanting also helps keep that sediment out of your glass. So this is Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Malbec, and Petit Verdot, a lovely, lovely blend. And the nose, I get, depending on the blend and as it changes from year to year, that will change a little, but it tends to have like a cherry cassis kind of nose up front with a little chocolate and toast in the back. Again, beautifully balanced. And with Mateo's food, this would have gone great with either of the courses with the red wine, but shows really, really well. Not, as again, as I said, not heavily filtered, but very well balanced. And that's what we're looking for in all these wines. And it's not really, really heavily tannic, but they're made to be aged for a long time. So we're tasting the 2015 today, but the 1995 is still drinking beautifully even after so many years.
Katie, I think it might be fun for everyone to hear about, before we get into the food pairing, just about the different components of the wine and what different grape varieties kind of bring to the blend. Because I think, you know, a lot of people in my experience are very familiar with, you know, Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot. But I think it just might be fun to talk a little bit about what the different components of grape varieties kind of bring to the final wine.
It's so amazing when you're able to taste all these components separately and then see how they blend together and the final wine they make. And our winemaker is, to me, a genius in being able to know and remember and figure out exactly the right grapes to blend. Cabernet Sauvignon is kind of the backbone and structure. Merlot adds an element of a little more fruit and some softness. Cabernet Franc, which is very distinctive, has more of that green quality you were discussing, a little bit of a kind of an olive quality to it. Malbec is known for being like meat. It adds kind of a meatiness. And what's our other one? Petit Verdot tends to help very much with adding some color and a little bit of stability kind of in the backbone of the wine. They have a nice long finish, and but all those things are in balance. There's nothing that kind of sleeps out at you too much, which is what a good blend should be. It should be a blend. It should be that you don't pick out any one of those components individually, but they all marry well, and they all, support each other like in a play or something.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what you said about the kind of the balance between the red and black fruit. For me, that just makes for such a successful red wine, where you kind of get those like high notes and then kind of the deeper tones as well. And I don't know that you specifically mentioned it, but for me, I get like just this really pretty kind of floral aromatics on it as well, which I really appreciate.
The other aspect is French oak versus American oak. Yeah. They bring very different properties to a wine. French oak is much softer and has more of a cinnamon, cardamom, spicy kind of aroma to it. And we're not doing it now, of course, but we do offer side-by-side barrel tasting with Cabernet Sauvignon in our cave on our tours, which we will eventually someday do again. We hope in the not too distant future. So the oak plays a part in it, the aging plays a part in it, the blend plays a part in it, whether it's grown on valley floor or on hillside or down by the river, they all play a part in the final flavor of the wine.
Yeah, sure.
All right, I've got kind of a technical question. Sorry, Matteo, we're coming to the food real quick.
Hey, no problem.
The food. Yeah.
Len is asking, how do you decide to age the wines separately before blending or blending early? So that's a pretty specific technical question. And I don't know that we could generalize that they do one or the other in Bordeaux either. But Katie, if you can comment on that.
In our instance, they are all grown separately. They get ripe at different times. The Malbec and Petit Verdot are very small lots, so we age those in a much smaller tank. And sometimes in Bordeaux, your blend that a particular wine is known for is planted in the vineyard. They plant all those grapes together in the vineyard and pick them all and ferment them together. That's not the case for us because we make separate Cabernet Franc and Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. So this allows the winemaker to ferment all these lots separately and then pick and choose what he happens to like for that vintage to go into the blend and then make the blend and further barrel age.
Great, thank you so much. And someone comments to segue into the food pairing. In this case, the sum is greater than any of the parts, and I would definitely agree with that. So, Matteo, tell us about your food pairing, please.
Well, when I taste the Cyrus, to me, it's exactly how I identified it before I knew it, how my experience with wine, how it was being blended, and how everything was balanced. All right, how they balance each other with having the Petit Verdot, you having the Cab Franc, and all these different varietals together. And I said that being picked, and my mind is in different times, and in each varietal and its right time, and they put it all together because the structure in 2015, how this wine aged, it means like Katie said, it has a little bit sediment, but you can taste that is making the acidity is making all these all these different varietals work together and not overpower any of them. Like you will, You will say, well, doesn't taste like a blend, but you can taste each single varietal of grape in it. You know what I mean? That's what very impressed me. And me, I said, it's gotta be with really nice pork belly, crispy, but falling off when you bite into it. And then we did the cranberry beans. And when I taste this wine, I always taste ages like a Bordeaux wine. You know what I mean? Which just means you can taste. People say it can be. People can get a little bit confused. They will think it's a little bit has a lot of tannins, but it's the tannins is the ones feeling like it's not dropping, but it's aging it. You know what I mean? It means it has enough acid to live from all the different blends, and that's when it come up. Put in the top of the pork with the cranberry beans, the pistu, which just means it has the fresh oregano, which is this type of wines likes aromatics and herbs, all right? And then I said, wow, yeah, but it needs something to bite more like inside the pistu, and we decide to put the anchovies. We have the anchovies, the caper, the shallots, and mix all together, and chop everything, and put the olive oil, and just embraces when you cut the pork belly, put the beans together, you're getting exactly what the Cyrus wine shows, all right? You have Petit Verdot, you have all these different varietals of wine. This means when you put in the salsa fresca, you trigger in different continents, including this dish, having the beans, having the pisto, having the belly, putting continents together. This means you doing the same philosophy than the winemaker of Cyrus has in his mind. It's that dish is being executed in the same way. Each dish is being executed depends when I taste the wine, what the winemaker was thinking. Like me, I'm the kind of person want to think when I taste the wine, what he did. That makes me push myself more. Understand, like I mean, I say, okay, he went to French Europe, and but I think he has a little bit of American hop, or all these things of how long it went. You know, all these different wines has been put in different stages of their life, and then they can come together, just like the food made it come together. Or if you go with the beans, goes with the wine. You go with the pork belly, goes with the wine. You put three together, goes perfectly, and then you put only the pistu. It's unbelievable. Like it takes you to a wholly different way to taste wine. Like how this anchovy, capers, and fresh oregano with good fat can cut through those acidities and shows you like the Bordeaux in reality is supposed to be. You know what? Bordeaux wines, they amaze, but I think California Bordeaux and how the way they do it, we have more fruit than French Bordeaux. You know what I mean? That's what I like about California Bordeaux, because they have that fruit to live when they have the right acidity like this wine.
You're making us all hungry, Mateo.
I was gonna say, I'm starving now.
Mateo, I totally
Are
agree.
you open yet?
Totally agree.
I have to say also, when we're talking about balance for us, you have all those aspects of tannin and acid and oak and fruit and alcohol, and they all have to be in balance. And then Mateo has just brought out that he has the same things in his food, maybe not tannin, but he has to balance the same things in his food as sweet and sour and salty, and to make the two go together so beautiful. It's just very inspired, very inspired.
Yeah, like the Petit Verdot, for example, you can feel how it's the Petit Verdot to me, and you palate, it doesn't sit. It's like a making moving all the different wines, and you palate. That's what's triggering. It's going to all the triggers of palate. You know what I mean? Like they say, wow, the center. I know the principle is the top, but the Petit Verdot is getting the whole family together. I said that's what is. This means which direction I take is gotta be a clean, honest food and a simple food. To don't be because if you put more components to this food, you can start fighting with some of the wines. This means if you come simple, or simple is can be dangerous. But if you go simple, making the beans, just letting the beans be and then getting the belly slow braise it, but doesn't get greasy. That's the most important thing when you eat pork belly to me. I say, because well, it's fat. Yeah, but you can make it just like wine. You can make it not greasy. How? You bake it for this time, and then all the fat gets cut up, and then you make it crispy. You don't get the greasiness, which just means it's gonna make the wine gets kind of lazy and you palate. With this one, rolls it around, and with the help of the Merlot and the Merlot, it's just been working itself, like showing to you different personalities of the wine. And that's what I like, because well, that makes you eat and drink, eat and drink. That's when you're eating and drinking, it means it's something's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Mateo, for saying that. I love that, because guests always ask me about like what makes a good food and wine pairing. And it's like, well, when you take a bite of food and then you drink the wine, and then it makes you want to have more food, and then you want to have another drink of wine, you know that it's working. So
Well, you're
thank you.
supposed to not taste the same thing. It means it's not pairing. It's just something to make it, to drink the wine. But when you sipping, you eating, and like I say, you build a playground, but that playground cannot hurt this wine, right? That's how and your mind is. That's what you gotta understand. What the artists, like winemakers, do, or what he was thinking when he did it. And it's nice to trip and add, like oh, by experience in the wine industry, I say, wow, he did this. Oh, but you can taste a little bit of cinnamon or sweet spices. It means it's a French berry problem. You know what I mean? How long when the curiosity start coming, how each one, when they come to blend, they all live in different batches, like Carrie said, this thing. They have a small batch of Verdot, and they have a small batch of Merlot. And then when is the time to put it together? That's the magic of the artist.
Yeah.
Thank you. Beautifully put. Katie, we have a couple questions for you. One is, I think this would be great with spring lamb for Easter, which sounds amazing. What is your favorite time of the year to serve Cyrus? How do you enjoy this wine in your own life?
Holidays, of course. I love lamb. I'm a big fan of lamb. Not everybody is, but I think it stands up really nicely to lamb. But a big roast at Christmas, if you're doing a rib roast or something like that, it's very good. But Mateo showed us you can have pork belly with this, and it's perfectly lovely. So we enjoy it a lot, almost any time of year, really.
Great, thank you. And then the second question is, when do you recommend we drink our 2012 that we purchased from the winery? So maybe answer that specifically, but then comment a little bit on the ageability and how the wines evolve over time.
The 2012, if you have stored it properly, I have to say that first. If it's not sitting on top of your refrigerator, standing up straight for 5 years. If you've been aging it properly, it's probably delicious right now with food, but it will age beautifully at least another 10 years. So pick a special occasion that you really enjoy, or maybe next year when it's 10 years old. But it should be good for quite a long time. They're made to be aged. That balance is to be able to age the wines properly. And of course, if you have larger bottles, magnums, those age even slower. So it's an opportunity to put something away for a big occasion in the future. And we like to do magnums of Cyrus as gifts for people in the year their child was born, and have them open it on the 21st birthday. That hasn't happened yet, but it will start happening soon. So that's an opportunity as well.
That's great. And someone commented, we opened in 1995 a few months ago, and it was absolutely delicious. So
yeah, the first vintage, we held it 4 years before we released it. We released it in fall of '99. Now we're holding them about 3 to 3.5 years before we release them. So we We give them lots of tender loving care and good bottle age at the winery before we send them off.
That's amazing. Yeah, so much care and attention that goes into all of these wines. Thank you. And Katie, please tell us how we can buy your wine and visit you. And then Scott, it looks like I neglected to ask you about your hospitality options as well. So we have a question about how to visit Trioni also. But Katie, tell us how we can buy Alexander Valley Vineyards and visit you.
We're on Highway 128 in the heart of the valley. And we're open every day. Right now, our tasting is by appointment on our porch and patio. We can't do tours, but we have beautiful tasting set up. Our website is avvwine.com, and we have quite a hefty program of online sales available there, and there's specials every month or week even. There's something going on all the time. So check out avvwine.com, but the best place to get this wine is at Mateo's this weekend, because he's going to be pouring it with all those great dishes we just described.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. So Scott, same question for you. Hospitality options. You told us where you can find your wine, but
we're going to be at
visitors?
Mateo's this weekend for sure, but we're actually at TrinityWinery.com. We're down the road on, Geyserville, and so we are at TrinityWinery.com and at Mateo's this weekend. And thank you, Mateo. It's awesome. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much. And Mateo, we have a few more minutes left. And I have a question about a little bit about your history, your career, and how you kind of got into this industry. And specifically, I'd like to hear about how you kind of ended up in wine country. So not your whole life story, but maybe briefly. It looks to me like this question is probably coming from someone who might be fantasizing about a similar trajectory. So tell us a little bit about your path.
That's funny.
I moved to Sonoma County in '93 from San Francisco, and I was working in Mazas on the Julian Serrano for 10 years, but I was still working in Mazas, and I met Bert Williams in '89. And since '89, Bert Williams started telling me, come, just move to the wine country, let's come to make wine, learn how to make wine with me. And in '93, I decided to move to Sebastopol and work in Williams selling with Bert. And commuting to San Francisco, I was 29 years old. I never sleep. I said, I gotta learn it. I love in this thing, and traveling, working, when I'm like a madman single, I can be able to do that. And one of the first master sommeliers in America, he was roommate of mine in San Francisco. He was the first master sommelier in Mazas as well, Michael Banacursi, who he passed away. We were roommates for 10 years. This is how I got introduced to wines, because my house, it was full of wine, every single alcohol you ever imagine exists in the world. It was in my house because he was need to do his master's in England, and I didn't speak English. He didn't speak Spanish. The only way we understood it was like a little, but check out. No, he doesn't like what, and then I started learning all these things. And in '89, I got introduced to Bert Williams, and I started learning about California wines. And he said, what is California wine? And I said, what is Pinot Noir? I didn't know what is Pinot Noir. And I fall in love, and I said, I want to be making wine. I'm curious about it and everything. And Bert, he brought me, and I lived in his house and moved here. And I was wanted to take wine tasting to food and wine to a different level, all right? Because my career, I said, if I take it to a different level, being working under Bert, all this is going to help me a lot. And that's when my career changed, and I started looking at food like wine making, and instead of coming and say, well, let's see what is going to work. We understand the chemistry, and then we execute. It's because grapes, you cannot go and say, oh, let me see what's going to happen. This is only once a year grapes. This means that's how my career is starting. I love it. I'm passionate about wine. You know what I mean? Food and wine makes you travel all over the world.
Yeah,
it just means it's a very interesting. It's never going to end. Like me, I'm the kind of person, if I say I know everything, it means I don't know nothing. Because you start seeing wines like, for example, the Cyrus, the Primitivo, the Carpenter, in California, which is all world bridles of wine, and you start like, wow, this is totally different education for your palate. You know, how you taste all world wine against California wine or any other wine from the world. It's a different way the palate gets educated.
Mateo, you're a genius.
Well, I try to understand the chemistry what the winemakers do, and then I say, oh, this is like Katie was saying about. Each different varietal. Some of it lighter, some of it have more legs, they have more structure, and you understand how you can integrate the food. You know, how, for example, I can put acid and not hurt the acid of this wine has. You know, what kind of acid I can use, or how I can introduce the acid. Everything is in cooking. Everything is possible. It's just find the right technique to do it to not hurt the wine. Like I remember in like 20 years ago, it was a French chef. I'm not gonna say. He says artichokes and wine doesn't go together. And here we go, Mateo working. I said, this guy is out of his mind. I said, everything can be possible, and I did it. You know, I hit the artichoke chance like winemakers hit with acid, and take all the artichoke taste out of it, make it slightly artichoke, and we put it with a wine. Everybody said, I never believed it. Yeah, you just. They has pores, chance like Daryl has. It means you can heat it with the acid, take all the artichoke taste out of it, and can work with wine. It means it's exactly how I see these 3 wines. It's how I work in a structure. I don't go and say, well, let me see, maybe this is gonna work. But I can hurt the wine because it's 15 years old. I can hurt the other one, the acidity, and then everything is gonna be not enjoyable. And like me, I will be mad. I go to the restaurant and I say, I chose this wine, and I get the food, and you know, it's more an experience for me. It's more about me learning something every time I pair wine. That's what is how I get paid back, and this is how my career is focusing about pairing, but not like I say, okay, I'll put it with this. Yeah, but why you put it? Explain me scientifically why it's behind it. Why this conqua, or why this pisto, or why this dark with the sugar in a soy sauce? Well, because I do it in umami flavor, which is different flavor. You know what I mean? Which is how do you introduce the umami flavor to the primitivo? And they start saying, well, you know, in Italy, you know, they have the kind of Chinese influence as well. You know what I mean? Which just means I'm thinking about this and how you can be gentle, or with the different blends of the Cyrus, or you go to the Semillon. You know what I mean? Like how I think about Semillon. Like me, I love Semillon, and people doesn't really in California. I don't think people really knows what is Semillon. You know what I mean? But a good Semillon is a good Semillon. I all the time say it. It's a all world wine, all world writer.
Mateo, thank you so much. This has been so inspiring, and I just really appreciate your thoughtful approach. I know one of my early mentors in the wine industry, she told me, this was at the Culinary Institute of America where I was studying wine, not cooking, but she said that she's learned more about wine from tasting with chefs than tasting with somms. And I've always remembered that and kind of taken that to my restaurant work, and really opened my mind and my heart to learning from the chefs that I taste with. And I think that you are just such an inspiring example of a chef that really can teach us all more about wine and what we're doing here. So thank you so much. And please, everyone, join us next week and the next 2 weeks until April 1st. And we're going to do it all over again and learn more and drink great wine. And
Katie,
cheers.
Laura,
Thank you.
Cheers. If we can please serving the pairing of Mateos.
Mateo, cheers.
Thank you, Mateo.
I want people to know this is an experience only once in a lifetime. For a week it's gonna happen because it's totally limited. And salute to everybody. Thank you.
Salud.
Cheers.
Thank you, Courtney.